When I was 7 years old, my daddy caught me smoking a cigar. Locked me in the broom closet for 3 days and 3 nights with nothing but a box of cigars and a book of matches. No food, Brewster. No water, just those goddamn cigars. Wouldn't let me out until I finished every last one of them. Taught me one hell of a lesson. I'm going to do to you what my daddy did to me. I'm going to teach you to hate spending money. I'm going to make you so sick of spending money that the mere sight of it will make you want to throw up. So, here's my proposition. You have 30 days in which to spend $30 million. If you can do it, you get $300 million.
There's got to be a catch.
Of course there's a catch. You have to spend the $30 million. But after 30 days, you're not allowed to own any assets. No houses, no cars, no jewelry, nothing but the shirt on your back. So it sounds easy, don't it? Well, you'll find out.
It's Two Dads, One Movie. It's the podcast where two middle-aged dads sit around and shoot the shit about the movies of the 80s and 90s. Here are your hosts, Steve Paulo and Nick Brianna. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Dads, One Movie. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And today we are talking about the 1985 comedy classic, Brewster's Millions.
Oh, yeah.
Nick, this was your pick, so why don't you give us a little insight into why we watched Brewster's Millions this week?
Yeah, so this is one that I remember liking, and I think about it a lot. I've seen it a few times, but not super recently.
Okay.
And but I do remember seeing this on TV as a kid, and it was one of these things that really kind of tickled my imagination at the age I saw it at like 7 or 8 years old. Just this idea of he has to spend all this money, and you know, you get all these wild things. I think that around the same time, there was an episode of the TV show Punky Brewster with the plot line, and the episode title was Brewster's Millions. And there was a similar thing, and it was like, you know, $10,000 or something like that.
Right.
But she ended up losing because Alan had received change when he bought a candy bar or something. It was still in his pocket. Totally fucked over Punky Brewster. She couldn't buy matching shoes. It was a nightmare. So yeah, this movie I thought was just like a very fun movie.
Yeah.
It has a lot of people I liked in it.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people kind of not really doing what they're traditionally doing, because this is a much softer, like this is a soft PG. This is a very like PG movie.
It was so funny knowing that it was 85 and that it was PG, and that's sort of the time. 85, I think, is the year where we started seeing PG-13 movies, but we also got, or maybe it was 84, but it was right in that ballpark where we sort of just had the transition. I thought, is this a real PG? Because I had never seen, let me make sure, listener, you understand, I had never seen this movie before. I've heard of it, obviously aware of its the concept, but I'd never seen it. So I was like, it's the 80s. I literally was waiting for the boobs to show up. Like,
totally.
Every 80s movie felt like had some gratuitous boob scene.
Yeah.
Not this one.
But it's a pretty clean movie, but I always just thought it was like an enjoyable thing. It was kind of a fun thing to think about, like, what would I do in this situation?
Nice.
And Richard Pryor, I just love the guy. He just seems like such a good soul in real life, despite the struggles that he went through and everything. So he's like a very sweet guy in this movie, and that really comes across. So yeah, I think it was just like a really fun thing as a kid to think about. So
very cool.
I'm glad we watched it again. and you've never seen it before?
Yeah. So my wife's a huge fan. She actually not quotes the movie, but like talks about this movie, I guess, in the context of like, there was a particular time in her life where she'd gotten sick, and like her dad put this on for her to like, just, you know, hey, like lay here, be sick, but like, watch this movie. And like, that's the kind of like core memory you don't realize you're making when you're making it. You know what I mean? At like, 7-ish years old or something. And so that's just always stuck with her as like, it's sort of a comfort, easy movie to watch, sort of a comfort movie. And she and I had just never, we've been together like 20 years. She just never, showed me this one. So I didn't really know what to expect going in. My Richard Pryor sort of experience is like Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Silver Streak. Obviously he co-wrote Blazing Saddles. And so those are that's the kind of humor I associate with Richard Pryor. And obviously his stand-up is very blue, like not family friendly. And that's
I hadn't seen any of that. I saw this movie. So when I saw his stand-up, I was like,
holy
whoa,
crap.
It was like seeing Bob Saget's stand-up if you only knew him from Full House.
Right.
You know?
Totally. Yeah. Total worlds just apart, really. But yeah, so I was excited to check it out. Obviously, the funny part is I literally tried to go in with like no new knowledge. Like I looked some stuff up afterwards to sort of fill in some blanks and make sure I had enough material, to come here and talk to you about it. But like, I didn't know John Candy was in this.
Yeah.
Until he like showed up, and I literally, which is in the first, 90 seconds, he's there playing catcher, and I'm just like, oh, that's so awesome. It's John Candy. Yay. Because you can't have a bad time watching John Candy. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you want to jump into facts on this one then?
Let's hear some facts about this one.
All right. So Brewster's Millions, as we mentioned, it is rated PG. It was released on May 22nd, 1985. That's a pretty solid release slot. That's like Memorial Day weekend,
right.
Close to, usually. Running time of 102 minutes, slightly on the longer side for comedies, but I think the 80s had a lot of comedies that were more than that 85 to 90 that we got used to later on. Directed by Walter Hill, written by George Barr McCutcheon, Herschel Weingrod, and Timothy Harris, starring Richard Pryor and John Candy. The scores. This was surprising to me. I looked these up after watching it. Rotten Tomatoes, 39% from the critics. So very rotten. That means, 4 out of 10, 2 out of 5 reviewers at the time gave it whatever their equivalent of like a negative rating or score is. That's surprising to me. The IMDb score, however, of 6.5, that to me feels way more accurate. That feels like, it's just, we'll get into everything, but like, it's not like a spectacular movie,
right?
But it's clearly something that like, if it tickles your nostalgia bone, you're going to love it. I feel like.
Well, and like you've talked about, the Rotten Tomatoes score seems like a product of the time the film came out. Absolutely. And IMDb is like history judging this film, like a more accurate view of that.
Right. So like you can have adjustments to the Rotten Tomatoes critic score over time, but it would require a professional critic to have a reason to go back and review the film later,
right? Like
an anniversary or something. And a film like this, I don't think that would happen. It'd be one thing if like, Jurassic Park, people go back and actually review the original at some, milestone anniversary. But this is probably like all critics from 1985, I would guess. For this one. Whereas yes, IMDb is like a living score that changes over time. Budget, $20 million, actually like fairly high.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was like, did they have real cash in the vault and they had to actually like have it sitting there? But box office take was 45.8 million, which is a 2.29x, about 2.3 multiplier, which is like, you definitely call it a success. Not a huge hit, not like a blockbuster, but this was a successful film.
Yeah.
Made the people who made it money. Usually that's all it takes to make people go home happy on that side of things. But yeah, those are the facts on Brewster's Millions. So
okay,
Nick, why don't you kick us off, man? What are we open on?
Yeah. So the movie opens up and we're being shown kind of a rundown, like minor league baseball field with an incredibly well attended, though.
Yeah,
I will say, like a lot of people in attendance for this game. This is the Hackensack Bulls. They're playing in Hackensack, New Jersey. One of the features actually plays a role in Major League Baseball history. I don't know if you know this. In the middle of their outfield, there's a train track that just runs through. So they'll have to stop the game for the train to go through. The guys are tripping over it and falling and dying and getting hurt all the time. That actually inspired that stupid fucking hill they put in the outfield in Houston.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we have a worse idea. We're going to do that.
Minute Maid Park was not the first one that came, or Enron Field back in the day they used to call it. It was not what came to mind. I was thinking this looked exactly like the A's new park in Sacramento. Yeah. This is exactly where they play, except there were 5 times as many people in the crowd. So yeah,
it cost $400 to get a train ticket to ride through the game.
Bitter A's fan, people. Let me say.
we want him back.
Right.
So yeah, this is Montgomery Brewster, Richard Pryor, and then Spike
Nolan.
John Candy, who's the catcher, classic catcher physique for a film. He's going to be goalie or catcher in anything he's in,
or an umpire. That's about it.
He is a good. Yeah, he's Enrico Palazzo-esque. So yeah, it's just kind of showing this game happening, and Montgomery Brewster's a relief pitcher, and he's, I can get anyone out for 3 innings. Like he's confident in his abilities. And he ends up striking a player out on this really gimmicky, like riser pitch.
It's called an eephus, actually. I was very excited to see the eephus pitch.
Okay.
That is a well-known, obviously not something done today, but if you go back, there were pitchers in the 1920s, 1930s especially, that almost exclusively threw an eephus.
Okay.
And it was just very slow, very arcing. The hard part about it is you actually have to get it to cross the plate through the strike zone or get them to swing.
Yeah, so it's like you have to hit that angle.
Yeah, the angle is not easy, but most of the time guys swing because it looks like they could just crush it.
Right.
It looks like you're playing T-ball. But yes, there was a very, very cool eephus from Monty.
Okay. God, I knew there'd be some good baseball knowledge. I like that a lot. So we're kind of starting out the game, and then the team wins the game, and they're 1 game away from the playoffs at the end of this. And we're kind of taken to a little celebratory hang at the bar. with John Candy and Richard Pryor, and they're just kind of hanging out. John Candy's character Spike is the perfect 80s like fat guy, party guy in a Hawaiian shirt. He comes around from the bar and he has a full armful of beer. He's got like 11 Budweisers. He bites it open with his teeth.
Oh, God, I hate that.
We're establishing him as he really twisted off a twist off with his teeth, which is kind of like.
But every time, whether it's in a movie or God forbid it's a video of an actual person, whatever, it hurts my teeth to see people do that. It's literally painful.
It was a thing in the Dr. Seuss teeth book. It says, "Don't be dumb like Katie Klotz." You broke his teeth biting off bottle tops or something like that. There's a thing about it. It's bad.
Good stuff.
So they're hanging out. They're hanging out at the party, and there's this guy who's kind of like shadowing him, this photographer who looks like a classic 1940s like press tag in his fedora looking photographer. And Montgomery Brewster Pryor thinks that, this might be a scout from the major leagues because they're looking for a 37-year-old relief pitcher who can, throw a good ephus.
Right. That's very important. Also, by the way, funny in seeing this for the first time in 2025 to think about when was the last time any relief pitcher anywhere in professional baseball pitched 3 innings. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, right.
They have literally people that come in for a
one
single
out, lefty, one out guys. Yeah.
And then at most it's like, this is a particularly this pitcher has got really high endurance and is really durable, and we feel really confident with him, so we'll let him get 4 outs. That's like the most. It's like you come in for that 3rd out in the 8th, then you do the 9th, right? Like maybe 3 innings.
Unless
Raleigh
it's a
Fingers
blowout.
is the last one that like regularly pitched 3 inning relief.
If your starter is getting shelled and you just need your 7th starter to burn some innings, that's when he comes in. But he's not your best reliever. He's not your who's doing that.
Exactly. Because here's the thing, back then too, like just to kind of be a little baseball nerd for a little while, like I don't know exactly when the middle reliever as a concept was created, but I don't think it was as early as 85. Like generally speaking, you were either a starter or you came in to close the game. So the starter would go as long as they could, usually, hopefully at least 6-7 innings. Then somebody would come in and finish it up. So it's not like it is today where there's all these specialty ability, these pitchers. And so relief pitchers would have to pitch. There's probably like 1 or 2 relief pitchers on a team. They'd have 4 maybe starters who would do a 4-man rotation, and then like 2 or 3 relievers, and they would just come in, and that's like you pitching almost every day. That was a tough job, especially if they were making you go 3 innings. But we'll leave the baseball nerd stuff. I think that's enough.
Shout out Goose Gossage, Lee Smith,
Raleigh, Dennis Eckersley. Yeah,
Dennis Eckersley. That's a very good point. So it is funny how baseball has changed into such a sport of specialists at this point. Let's see what's happening.
So we're at the
here.
bar. Okay. They're flirting with some girls.
Yes. Yeah. This is funny. So they're hitting on a couple of to use 80s film terminology, I don't agree with it, but racially appropriate matches for them, which is how there's never like a cross racial love interest in these. It's kind of upsetting. And I think they're doing pretty well hitting on these girls. John Candy has a very funny sequence where he's kind of talking to a girl about like what a good idea it would be if they all went and got naked and got massaged together.
Very
and how,
important.
your clothes are in the way. And he was talking about like, this doctor told me this thing. He was very good at that.
I love that he kept saying, it's his theory. It's just a theory. It's because he didn't want to come off too strong, but let's explore the theory together. I dig that.
Yeah. And they make mention of, perhaps they have boyfriends or fiancés, right? So of course the boyfriends and fiancés show up, and it's immediately a bar fight. I do just want to point out one of the boyfriends, the black dude who's named Rudy in this, we saw very recently in Demolition Man. He was the young Zachary Lamb in the helicopter with Stallone, but he was also one of the Agent Johnsons in Die Hard. The FBI agent Johnson and Johnson, like no relation.
The one who was in middle school for what was it, Saigon? Yeah, he's like, we're just like Saigon, right, pal? I was in middle school, asshole. That guy, nice. All right, that guy spent a lot of time in helicopters.
Yeah, I mean, So it was good to see a familiar face there. So we have this very funny bar fight scene, and then it of course cuts to that great comedic cut of now here are our main characters in jail.
And they even say, why is it just us, right? It is an instant brawl with everyone participating. It's that kind of only in a movie instant brawl where everybody sort of just stands up and starts throwing things or punches, right, wherever they can with no inclination of like, why are we doing this? It's just, a brawl. But they're the only 2 in jail. How strange. Like, why these 2?
Right. And they make a comment. I think John Candy says, I don't think it's racial, because I'm in here with you. I think it's very funny. There's a couple of very minor racial references in this movie that are funny.
Right.
But I think that was a funny observation. And even, why is it just us is almost a breaking of the fourth wall of like, the budget didn't call for 30 extras for this prison scene.
The cell could only be 8 by 10. We couldn't fit more people in here or whatever, 8 by 6 or something. But no, it's, and then so they apparently got one phone call. And they called their manager,
right,
who is, again, friend of the pod. Second
Jerry
time we're
Orbach.
seeing Jerry Orbach, Lieutenant Briscoe from Law & Order, who was also Joey Trotta's dad in Toy Soldiers. But he's here to tell them, guys, nobody wants you. The team doesn't want you. We're not bailing you out. There's no money for bail. There's no money for your fines. They're cutting you. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just like washing his hands of these two.
Yep. And so they're kind of screwed, but then they end up getting bailed out.
Right.
And the person that bails them out is this photographer that's been following around.
Yeah.
So Montgomery feels like, the
Maybe
Yankees
really
or the Mets are after me.
Well, and it's funny too, because in that scene where, John Candy, like Spike is basically, oh, let me do the talking, it's like, and he starts, and he's just digging them in a hole so badly with all the stuff he's taking. It's like, oh, well, it's guilty, Your Honor, but with ulterior, like special circumstances or whatever. And I love one of my favorite lines in the movie is Richard Pryor, not even looking at Spike, sort of points to him, but looking at Your Honor, this man does not represent me, Your Honor. He does not. It's just kind of like the way he says it is so like, this man does not represent me. But so they get bailed out, and they're in, of course, Hackensack, New Jersey. So they're near the city, but they're in New Jersey. But this is where our photographer that we kind of don't know much about, he's taking them into New York City. And so, Monty is super stoked. He thinks it's the Mets. He thinks it's the Yankees, probably the Mets, like whatever. He's really, really getting excited. Thinks he's about to go get the call.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the scene. They arrive at this office building, and it shows Spike looking at the directory, like in the M's, and he doesn't see Mets, as if it would be listed as just Mets, not like the New York Metropolitan Baseball LLC or some shit like that. So I thought that was really funny. And then they're like, hey, what's going on here? And the guy's like, look, I don't know. I was just paid to bring you here.
Yeah. He doesn't have any idea. So Monty getting Spike up there, Spike and the photographer, who we find out basically he's a PI, right? So he's hired to find them. That's who he is. They wait in the waiting room, fight over magazines a little bit, and Monty goes in and he ends up talking to these lawyers as an executor of a will, and then these two lawyers who like run the firm that they're at. Yep. And he finds out he's got a great uncle that he didn't know he had. Yep. Who has died and was very, very wealthy, and he is the sole living sort of descendant, I guess, of this guy, Rupert, I believe, right? Uncle Rupert. And so he's got to sit through this ludicrous 8mm film that was recorded of you can go and tell us, but like this creepy, crazy old man has set up quite the Rube Goldbergian setup for Monty here. Yeah, he really wants to play a game with him. So we get this old man like, inches away from death an oxygen tank, sitting there with a bucket hat, looking like one of the oldest like mafia figures still alive. He looks like one of the oldest men possible, or one of the youngest zombies that there is. He's one of the most freshly turned zombies during the apocalypse. It's really either the most decrepit man or the freshest zombie. Exactly. He's sitting right there on the Jim Rice line. On that fulcrum. Where's he at? So we got to keep it baseball here. That's right. Exactly. So one thing, the executor of the estate, the actor there was Commissioner Gordon in the Tim Burton Batman movie. I was like, what is this guy from? And then there's a couple of bad guy looking lawyers, who definitely aren't looking out for his best interests. So this video is telling us this is his great uncle Rupert Horn, who's this rich dude, and he says, when I was a kid, I got caught smoking a cigar. Right. And to punish me, my dad locked me in the closet with a box of cigars and a book of matches and said, don't come out until you smoke them all. So I learned to hate smoking cigars. He's like, I'm going to teach you how to hate spending money. And so the deal is, actually, before he says that, he says, oh, I bet you didn't know your great grandpa was a honky. Yeah, right. Yes. And he refers to the family as checkered, which I'm like, I guess that's maybe the best way they could have put that in a racist way. Right, you know what I mean? Right. Like it's maybe like the least racist. There's a couple of those. There's a couple of those in this movie. So here's the deal for Montgomery Brewster. You have to spend $30 million in 30 days. At the end of 30 days, you have $0 left over. You can give 5% to charity. You can gamble away 5%. You cannot give money away. You can hire people, whoever you want, but you have to get value in return for it. You can't destroy something valuable, so you couldn't buy a painting and light it on fire, he says. And the most important thing is you cannot tell a soul. Right.
and your money is going to be meticulously accounted for by Drake, who's this accountant that we're providing to you. And he's like, okay, well, let's see this Drake guy. And it turns out Drake's actually a lady. So the deal is, though, if he can spend this $30 million in 30 days, then he will inherit the full inheritance of $300 million. Otherwise, he gets nothing. And then the alternative that he has is you could take $1 million now and forget about all this.
Right.
And this is a guy where it's revealed to us he's never made more than $11,000 in a year.
Right.
He's been, a broke minor league. It hasn't changed. I mean, I think the minor league wages are up a little. You might make like 14 grand a year now.
It's a very small amount.
He's really barely surviving.
Yes.
So $1 million is like, he never would have imagined that.
Right.
But he's like, you know what? Fuck it. Because he does seem way more excited about like, this is going to help with baseball than from the very beginning. He doesn't think like, I'm rich, I'm whatever. I guess it's like a temporary thing anyway, since he has to spend it all. But he seems excited about what this can do for his baseball team.
Yeah, it feels like he denies or declines rather the $1 million to walk away and just be done with it, hoping for the $300 million. It sounds like mainly because he wants to buy, if not the Hackensack Bulls, he wants to buy a baseball team. Yeah, and get in and stay in the game that way. I did want to mention I did the quick look up on the inflation and everything since 85.
Oh yeah.
So the $1 million that he passed up, that would be like $3 million in today's dollars. The $30 million he has to spend in 30 days would be $90 million. Okay. And then the $300 million grand prize essentially is $900 million. So he'd be close to being a billionaire in today's dollars.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So definitely big money.
So then if he tries and fails, this is the big thing that I left out, then this law firm then gets power of attorney over the entire estate with a very, substantial fee for them. So they look to really make out like bandits here. And Montgomery, like his character, I feel like I said in the beginning, he's a very like sweet guy. Yeah. He says good luck to the other guys as he's leaving the office, even though they're like, we're trying to fuck you over out of this and we're going to do our best to make sure you fail. And he's like, all right, good luck, fellas. And like walks out. So talking about the inflation, I just wanted to give a quick tax rundown of this because the burden of the estate tax is paid by the estate. Okay. And so that would mean that whatever Monty is actually getting is after tax. Okay. And at this time, the estate tax for estates over like $400,000 was like 55%. Oh, wow. And this is a federal estate tax. I think New York State also had one. I couldn't find the historical rate, but I'm thinking that the actual value of this estate, if he's getting $300 million, is like $750 or $800 million. Wow. Yeah, yeah. So I feel like, his uncle could have found maybe more cost-effective ways to have fun with his money, but
well, he's dead, so what does he care now?
That's true. That's very true.
Doing the same translation, you're talking about maybe $2.5 billion in today's dollars. Then, very, very
so
large estate. Yeah.
This is kind of crazy. So I thought that was interesting to be like, yo, So now he says, all right, let's do it, but he can't tell anyone. So basically, he tells Spike, I just inherited $30 million. Right. Yeah, because
that's what he's clearly going to have access to, what he needs to start spending. So he does need to tell people, I've inherited this money, right? Yes. That's sort of the story. He just can't give up any of the like plan, the plot, the game that's going on, or he'll lose. So,
right.
Okay.
Right. So he ends up going to the bank and they have these like big pallets of cash for him, which is really a great visual.
It made me think of, if you ever watched Breaking Bad, there's a point where Walter White's keeping in like a storage unit, just keeping the pallet. And I'm like, wow, there's 3 though. Walter White would be so jealous. He's got 3 pallets full of cash.
That was, it was really cool to see that. And the bank this is a good sign of the times here. The bank manager, whoever is saying, Mr. Brewster, we're so happy to have your money in the bank. We're happy to offer you our special 24% interest rate, which normally we only offer to whatever, like royals and stuff.
Oh my God.
And that's to pay him. That's not him borrowing on a payday loan. This is your interest. And he says, no, I don't want any interest. Yeah. I just want it in a regular account that doesn't earn any money. But can you imagine that? That's more than 10 times what a really good rate was up until like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really crazy. I mean, at this point, if you're lucky, you can find a 4 or 5% like savings account just to put your money in the bank, not investing it, can't lose it. You're just sitting it in the bank. So 24%. I mean, now, of course, what was a home loan back then? Like 20%?
Sure. But if you're in the Montgomery Brewster side of the ledger, you're looking good.
You're doing good stuff.
So he starts looking around and he tells Spike, he's like, this is our ticket to the big leagues. This is how we get, some acknowledgement for all this work we've done as baseball players. And he starts hiring people. So he hires this PI. He's like, you're my personal photographer. You get $10,000 a week.
Right.
Taxi driver, who is the great Yakov Smirnoff,
Yeah.
$5,000 a week. And he's telling him to get these limos. The security guy who follows him everywhere and carries his briefcase full of money and makes all his payments for him and ostensibly puts his life on the line, only gets $4,000 a week.
Yeah, so strange.
And he's watching Montgomery throughout this thing, throwing tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars at bullshit. And he's like, I'm the only one actually doing something right
He's doing
now.
real work.
Yeah.
That's really important and safe and everything. And yeah, it's not exactly equitable, but that's okay. I did love that Yakov Smirnoff got to do his catchphrase as his character. You know, what the country? Like,
hey, 2 consecutive films with stand-up comedian. Well, I guess we had Demolition Man a few weeks ago.
That's right. Yeah.
But with Dennis Leary doing his act, so it was good to see that. I thought this was really funny. So he goes out to the payphone and he calls his baseball manager back after he's had this inheritance. He's like, "Hey, we're great. Like, I'm gonna hook the team up. We're gonna get new uniforms. We're gonna play the Yankees." He already has this idea in his head. And the guy says, "Well, if you're so rich, like, why are you calling me?"
Collect,
And he said, "Oh, they only gave me $100 bills. I had to rent a quarter from my accountant." I love that. So he wants them to play the Yankees, and this is kind of the setup of like his ultimate goal. But during that time, he has to get rid of all this money.
Yeah. So they show up and he's gonna take everybody out to lunch. When I say everybody, it's like
everyone
that's nearby. Like really, it's like, let's all go to lunch. I don't know exactly what restaurant they go to, but it's a very fancy restaurant in New York City. And the maitre d', sort of like is like, oh, whatever. And he's like, hey, I'll, this much per plate, we'll whatever. I'll overpay for everybody. Let's just get in here. And he says, he turns and goes, do you like Lafite? Chateau Lafite is a very, very nice Grand Cru Bordeaux. Today a bottle of Lafite would run you like $450 to $500 a bottle at a bare minimum. Like that's like if you're buying it at a store. At a restaurant, it would be even more. Yeah. So yeah, he is spending money real quick.
Yeah.
I also noticed he got, shortly after that, right? So there's lunch, and I don't know if we want to talk about the lunch scene too much, but like, he immediately spends $1 million to rent out the top 2 floors of the plaza for a month. And it's like, that's a good start. Yeah. If you're trying to spend $30 million in 30 days and you can drop $1 million in one day, man, that's got to feel good, right?
For sure.
You feel like you've got a good start going.
I would have loved, like a director's cut or an alternate edit of this that has a little like a running tally of his money in the bottom of the screen. So every time he's like, "Oh, I'm hiring you for this," and it goes down. So yeah, that was a good move, and he gets this whole top floor for all of his friends who are basically like the random people that he took to lunch.
Right. This is basically like when Eddie Murphy first comes into Money and Trading Places.
Very, very similar. Very similar. So Spike shows up, and he's hired Spike as his executive vice president or something,
right? Because
he's like, hiring people all around him, and Spike's just kind of like, "Wow, my friend's rich," and the photographer's like, "Yeah, you haven't gotten hired for anything yet."
And he like starts a company. He even says something about like, "Oh, I'm starting a company in the morning, and he's going to be my vice president or whatever." He doesn't say really what the company does or anything like that, but yeah, there's that. He does start a company.
And Spike gets a little cash, and then he shows up the next day, and he's got a new suit and one of the coolest accessories. He has this giant gold catcher's helmet medallion or catcher's mask medallion. And he says, I got all these clothes at the same place. They made this for Johnny Bench, but he didn't come pick it up, so they gave it to me. I love that.
That's so good. It took me so long to figure out what that was around his neck when he first walks onto screen wearing it. Like, it's so shiny that him walking through this soundstage or wherever they are with lights on him, must have been so hard for the cinematographer to like light balance the scene around that catcher's mask because it's so brilliant.
That thing was polished up, baby. Drake, Angela Drake, who's the accountant, she makes mention early on that she has a fiance, and I'm meeting my fiance tonight, Warren Cox.
Yes.
And he also works at the law firm that stands to really benefit if Brewster fails.
Right. But he's an attorney. Angela's a paralegal and an accountant.
Right.
But Warren is actually an attorney there at the firm.
He's more kind of like in the inner circle at this place, right? And Warren makes some comment about the interior design of the apartment. He's like, "Oh yeah, I see what they were going for. Right. I guess this is fine. Like this is a pretty good job." And then Montgomery, seeing an opportunity to blow some more money, says, "Oh, you like interior design? I'll hire you to do it." His ex-wife was an interior designer. So he pays him $250,000 plus he pays the professional designer $100,000, like which so I guess he ran it through the female pay calculator of 1985. Jesus.
Yeah.
But so then he gets them in his place. So they're always doing this crazy stuff with his apartment.
And Warren Cox, so that's an actor I recognized immediately, and I'll say from where, but I looked him up too because I wanted to see like what else he'd been in. What I did not recognize him from was his over 240 episode run on the show Seventh Heaven, when he was apparently the father of and reverend of this family. He was on like for 10 years or something. This show was on. But I'll say I know him as Bruce Mathis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Deandra and Dennis's real father.
Oh,
he did a 2-episode arc on Sunny, and I immediately was like, "Oh my God, it's Bruce Mathis!"
Oh, nice. I love when they appear later.
Yeah,
I knew he looked familiar. I wasn't sure what, and I never watched Seventh Heaven.
No, it was not on my radar really. But when I was looking through his IMDb, it's because it pops up and you look and it says, 242 episodes. I'm like, oh my God, he was obviously a series mainstay on Seventh Heaven. I'd never even watched that. That was not on my radar.
Those CW shows didn't really. They missed us by a little bit.
Yeah.
Montgomery is back. He's at his hotel room, penthouse, whatever, and is just being absolutely flooded by people who are seeing an opportunity because the word is out. We're being treated to these little kind of cutscenes where the news reporter is kind of explaining bits of the plot.
Action
like,
news.
We got Montgomery Brewster here. This reporter guy is the dude that ends up giving Roddy Piper the sunglasses and They Live. He's been in a bunch of shit. He's been in a lot of like John Carpenter movies.
Right.
And kind of interesting, I just thought of this. The director of this movie, Walter Hill, also directed The Warriors.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Right.
Okay.
So The Warriors, great movie, very different from this.
Yes.
But The Warriors uses the device of having the radio DJ kind of like move the plot along throughout. So this like news reporter served a similar function to the radio DJ from The Warriors.
That's awesome.
Who was also the chief on the Carmen Sandiego TV show. Okay,
Really?
I'm done. Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought the chief on Carmen Sandiego was a black woman.
It was a black woman. The radio DJ in The Warriors.
Oh, the radio DJ in The Warriors.
Just shows her. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was like, wait, this guy? Like,
but sorry, this scene, he's basically being flooded by all these people like, hey, I do this. I have this investment opportunity. I have this. And this is one scene that made me laugh so hard when I was watching it. And this didn't generate a ton of out loud laughs for me, but this scene killed me. And Rick Moranis pops in and he just comes up from behind and he says, hi, I'm Morty King, King of the Mimics. Like I can mimic anyone. And what he's doing is just copying everything that Montgomery says, like
sounds
right behind
like
him.
Like
Does not sound him, and he's just doing it. And it's so relentless about it. And he's like, hey, choke this guy. And Moranis will say, hey, choke this guy as he's getting put in a headlock. And it was very brief. It was like 2 minutes long. But to me, that was the funniest thing in this whole movie.
I don't even know if it was 2 minutes, but Rick Moranis is so good.
Yeah.
And frankly, looking real good. He's got the beard going. He's looking slim.
This is sexy Moranis.
This was Moranis at the height of his what sex appeal he had over his career. I think this was the peak of it, probably.
Oh yeah.
But so funny and so perfect. Dropped into this group, and this feels like one of those things where it's like another thing where, hey, let's put one of our friends in. Kind of thing. Let's just give him a little scene here and there. And because he's only in it. I kept expecting him to come back.
I did
like,
too.
For at least a little something.
I was like, wow, that was great. I hope he comes back. But
just to have Richard Pryor, Rick Moranis, and John Candy on screen together, right? Like
beautiful.
in a single shot. It's like, we need more of that.
Yeah, that was really nice. So shout out to Rick Moranis, one of the greats, and really absolutely like knocked it out of the park with his brief moment in this movie.
he made every second count for sure.
So let's see. And now at this point, we've kind of secured the New York Yankees for a 3-inning exhibition game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And he said that he's rented the stadium that the Bulls play in. So he's rented the stadium. He can do renovations, which I thought was a fantastic way to spend money, right? If you rent the stadium, you don't own any of the renovations when the lease is over, right? So if you rent it for a month or 28 days or whatever he's got, left, he won't own anything. He won't have any of those assets, and the renovations will have all cost money and not be his.
Yep.
He gets new uniforms for the team, like all kinds of stuff. He really, like, some of these choices he's making are really very smart about not giving money away. It's not charity, but it is like buying something that only temporarily helps him. Like, I thought it was a very smart kind of move, and not really something I thought of right away, but like, yeah, very, very good.
And the way he transported the team, he took them on a bus from where they were in Hackensack, I think, to the airport in somewhere. And then they took a helicopter from the airport, and then we're going to take a bus basically right back to where they started.
It sounded like, and this is, I think, later in the film, but it sounded like they took a bus from Hackensack to Newark Airport and then flew from Newark to JFK, which I'm sure nobody actually does because they're literally right next to it. Then had to take helicopters from JFK to I don't know where they were, some landing pad in Manhattan, basically, right? And then they had to get on a bus to go back to Hackensack to play the game. Yeah. It was something like that. It was just the most insane. But again, if you're trying to burn money,
he did it right. So I think that his friends at this point are kind of feeling like there needs to be an intervention because they're concerned. They don't know about the upside of this whole thing.
Right. To them, and of course, this is Uncle Rupert's plan. To his friends, to the people around him, Monty is insane. He is literally burning cash. He's not making any responsible decisions. Every time he has an opportunity to like invest something or whatever, he does not take it. He does not go for it. Mm-hmm. There's a point where he places a bunch of bets on like long shots. Right? Yes. He says like 5,000 on every underdog. And he even sees Loyola, the college in Chicago where we learn Angela Drake went to. They're playing Notre Dame in field hockey. And Notre Dame is like 20-1 favorites or something like that, whatever it is. So he bets on Loyola. And he comes, and a few scenes later, the same guy comes back super pissed off, just like, you never place another bet here. They won. And he just dumps all the money tons of money all over him. He's like, you're never placing a bet in this town ever again. Like he's super mad. So.
And watching Brewer get kind of, or Brewster get increasingly distressed as he finds out he's making money.
Right. It's hard really funny. It's hard to not make money. It's hard to spend money in ways that don't do anything for you.
This is kind of a good, analysis of how it is for people that have absurd amounts of money is if you can, even if you're stupid, you can keep taking these long shots and once in a while something hits and then you're right back where you started or ahead of it.
Yeah. Like if your father, gives you like millions of dollars and you end up bankrupting casinos and universities and stealing from charities, like you could still end up president of the United States.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Sure.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, I can't believe William Henry Harrison did that. But
actually, it was McKinley. But yeah, so there's a funny line here too somewhere. I wrote it down, but I don't remember exactly where it comes. But at some point, Spike and the photographer, I don't remember his name, but they are constantly kind of at each other's throats.
That's a good dynamic,
arguing back and forth. That's a lot of fun. And at one point, I think Spike is because he's getting concerned about Monty. He says something about like, "Oh, should you do something?" And the photographer says, "Hey, I'm getting paid to take pictures. My job is not to interpret reality."
Yes, I love that so much. Okay, I'm glad you brought that
up. Richard Pryor is not credited as a screenwriter on this movie, but that feels like a Richard Pryor joke. Yeah. That is such a highbrow joke that feels very Richard Pryor.
It does.
And that's one that I called out immediately. I thought was fantastic.
There's a good scene of Montgomery and Spike playing catch inside the hotel suite. Pitching and catching. And I kept trying to see, I was like, they must be using some kind of a double for the baseball scenes for Pryor because every time it showed him throw from the front, it would cut to behind him. So you'd never see the throw going. But then when it showed him actually playing in the game, like he had decent pitching form. He looked like he'd thrown a baseball before. And no one was credited in the credits for stunts or anything like that. So I'm not sure how that worked.
Yeah, there was probably something buried in the credits somewhere for some kind of stunt coordinator. Well, they wouldn't have called out specifically like a double for him as like a particular line in the credits or anything. And it could have been him throwing, but more likely, and what they do a lot in these sports movies when you have non-athletes acting in sports movies, they just learn the motion. If they don't already know it, they get taught. They bring in a consultant and show this is how you wind up and throw a pitch, but they don't try to throw it. So the fact that Monty is like throwing what look like good 85, 90 mile an hour pitches that are really smacking the glove for Spike, there's no way Pryor actually threw it. It would hurt his arm too bad, right? It literally would be dangerous for the production to have him do that. So he learned, I'm sure, really, he had to learn the good wind up, the good motion and really look realistic. But the reason that cut comes to the back of him is not only so that we see where his pitch goes, which is convenient, but it is because I can say, I don't know for sure, but I'm like 95% confident Richard Pryor did not throw those pitches.
Well, and I always say if it was him, then they would show his face because why wouldn't they? It benefits them in every way to show his face that he's doing.
It would be a big deal of like, look at what Richard Pryor can do. Yeah. He's funny. He can act. Did you know he can throw 80 mile an hour fastballs? Like
he would have had like a 30-team run of throwing out the first pitch in major league stadiums after that.
Yes.
So yeah, I was curious about that, but I think that's a really good explanation of how that stuff works. And but to Richard Pryor's credit, like he had a wind up, and I was looking up, I thought he was really short for some reason, just because he's so slight, thin guy, right? but he's like 5'10". He could be like a Pedro Martinez kind of physique of a pitcher or something like that.
There's a lot of like, there's tall and skinny pitchers, there's short squat pitchers, there's all kinds of different, everybody, it works out for everybody if you got the arm.
So he feels like he's doing a good job at this point. He's winning some money with the gambling and some of these investments. He's like, but he's finding ways to waste money. And one very clever thing that he did is went into a rare stamp shop and he bought that very famous stamp, which I've seen referenced in like The Simpsons and stuff like that, where the plane was printed upside down. And it's $1.25 million.
Right.
And then it cuts to the lawyers sitting there in their office reading the news story. Montgomery Brewster buys $1.25 million stamp, which is typical front page news on a New York newspaper. I think that's pretty.
I get what you're doing, but I actually think it would be if what was happening was actually happening, and I don't think it was the Times. It was like the Post or the Daily News, right? It was one of the like raggier New York, and I think this would be tabloid headlines, right? Is that Brewster is spending all this money? He was making quite the story. He was on Action News.
True.
He's got this exhibition with the Yankees back when the Yankees were garbage. By the way, like the Yankees in '85 were fucking terrible. Like nobody outside New York gave a shit about the Yankees in '85. That was like in between their glory days.
That was a rough time.
It was a rough time for them. But yeah, I think that's what this. Most of the time we see these things hitting the newspaper in movies, and you go, yeah, why the hell would that be in the newspaper? This one though, I think actually would fit.
Plus, you got to bury like Iran Contra and like all the shit that's actually happening. So the lawyers are reading this newspaper headline. This idiot, he just bought this. This is a major asset. He's not allowed to have any assets when he's done with it. Ha ha ha. Yeah. And then their assistant comes in and says, sir, this mail was delivered to you. And he looks at the envelope. It's from Montgomery Brewster. And it has that stamp on it. He used that stamp to mail it, which great move. It seems like destruction of something inherently valuable, but I guess he didn't destroy it himself. No. So it's like Simon Phoenix not being able to kill Cocteau, but he can have someone else do it. I don't quite get that, but that's a little hole in this film.
It could be. And I wrote down the same thing. Like, doesn't that destroy it? But the more I thought about it, the fact that a stamp has value beyond its printed amount is just, that's what the market will bear, right? It's like any collectible. It's got value only because people are willing to pay for it.
Right.
Its inherent innate value is just what it is, which is as a stamp.
Yeah, I guess the same as the wine and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
It's like if you drink wine, like you could buy the super
using it for its purpose.
Exactly. So I think, although I did again have the same instinct you had about that, but I think because he used the stamp for the purpose that was originally created, they could not claim that he had destroyed something like unwilling or out, just that it was inside the realm of the rules. I think, and obviously it never comes up. They clearly don't try to argue with him that he did that. But yeah, I thought the same thing. It's kind of like, man, that seems like a really foolish way to destroy a $1.2 million stamp.
Right.
So
he's getting kind of increasingly unhinged, especially in the eyes of everyone around him. I mean, he feels like I'm doing what I need to do to make this thing work. Angela doesn't like it, but he finally gets her to agree to go to lunch with him. Right. He's like, hey, all I'm going to spend money on is taking you to lunch. And it seems like a kind of a turning point in this. It's kind of a weird romantic story, right? Like, other than that she's there, I don't know exactly why they connected, other than that he's nicer than her boyfriend.
Yeah, I think it's partly about the fiance Warren and his ex-wife, the designer. They're now working together under Brewster, and I think this was part of his whole plan of hiring the two of them, is that they're together again, doing something that obviously is important to the two of them and that Angela's not involved in. So I think it's just a little bit of, and this is sort of would make the argument about Monty not being all that great a guy, but it's sort of like driving a wedge between Angela and Warren, or at least handing the wedge to Warren and letting him drive it between them.
Yeah,
like that.
True.
But that's, I think, kind of the crux of it. And so then I think Angela is just sort of like intrigued by Monty. Obviously, he's a very interesting character. Obviously,
he's a nice guy. Right, I mean, he treats people well around him. He's not a jerk.
Right. But he's also bizarre. And I think that a lot of times people are just kind of drawn to bizarre people. And I think maybe that's the case here.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it seems like things are going to turn, and I'm just going to take you to lunch. And all we're doing is we're going to have lunch. Let's get in the car, and somebody rear-ended them.
That's right. Yeah.
And they turn around, and clearly this other person's fault, not their fault. They're sitting there stopped and somebody hit them from behind. And in the conversation, Monty sees this as an opportunity to kick some cash to this guy. So he's like, no, I don't think you're okay. You seem a little dizzy, sir. And ends up basically writing this guy a check for $300,000.
She's like one of the biggest checks he writes in it.
Security guard. Absolutely losing his mind.
Well, the security guard is getting paid every week,
but the only guy who's actually doing a job. So Angela loses it. I mean,
She's
that's
not
enough
happy
for
about
her. And that was like enough of a display. He did the exact opposite of what he said he was going to do right after he said it.
Right.
And Monty is also just like sick of this shit.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, dude, I'm done being this rich guy. This is getting very exhausting.
Yeah. I think at one point, I don't know if this happened yet, but at one point Spike shows up and is super excited. Is that the next thing? Okay, so yeah, Spike is super excited. He's got news along with this financial advisor that they hired for Monty, who originally only wanted to take commission. I'll only earn money if you make money, but of course Monty doesn't want him to make him money, so he pays him a salary to do it. But basically made some investments, and those investments have paid off. And you got $10 million more dollars.
The craziest, like in like a week,
which is like whatever investment
so
this was. It sounds like he probably invested in crack cocaine, but like, basically he ended up earning 10 million more for Monty. So he has to get rid of $10 million more dollars.
Right. And he already had this baseball game set up. So he was like, dude, I was on track to be through all my money.
Yeah.
And kind of a very funny scene here where he's just like basically sitting there like, oh my God, I need to waste a lot of money on nothing in a short period of time. How am I going to do this?
And then there's
something on TV where it's about the money that's being spent in the New York mayoral race, which is in no way relevant to current events. And it dawns on him. He's like, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And he starts a campaign not to be elected mayor, but to say, these guys suck. Our choices suck.
Right.
I say everyone should vote for none of the above.
Yeah, like I suck too. Don't vote for me.
Yeah. I'm an idiot that sucks telling you not to vote for these sucky idiots.
Don't vote for me just because I'm rich. That's dumb.
Right.
Vote for none of the above.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we get a great montage of like the newspapers being printed, which includes the guys carrying the giant roll of like newspaper paper.
It was pretty cool.
Which I enjoyed. So we got a good extended scene of that.
Well, at the sort of press conference where he announces his candidacy, there's a couple of reporters that ask questions. There's about 3 reporters that ask questions, but 2 of them I recognize from other movies. I always want to call that out when I do. So the woman, her name is Lynn Shay, and she was fantastic in the Insidious franchise. She plays this medium in the Insidious movies, and she's really great in that. Obviously, decades later. But the male political reporter, just a few years after this movie came out, would play. I think he's a sergeant in the LAPD during the siege of Nakatomi Plaza. He's the one that goes, send in the car. He's that guy.
We get a couple diehard alums in this movie. That's exactly great.
It's pretty crazy. So
nice. This was a very funny thing that the news guy said when he was talking about Monty Brewster's run for mayor, or his campaign for none of the above for mayor. He says he's running spots in all 50 states just in case New Yorkers are on vacation.
52. Somebody says all 52 states at some point. But I think it was one of the lawyers.
Okay.
Said something about running ads in all 52 states. And I'm like, what? Like, I guess if you're counting DC and Puerto Rico, is that what they're doing? I don't know why they would say 52.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah, that's odd.
It was very strange.
So he ends up having like a rally, like a none of the above rally, and a bunch of people show up. But it's like the more he says, and I did like this part, and it's like, I don't know, it's kind of a stereotypical like old crank guy to be like, well, all politicians are crooks or whatever. It's like, people have been saying that for 50 years, but also nothing has changed in 50 years. So you're not wrong to like have these opinions. So it's kind of funny, but just him getting on TV and relating to people and being like, I'm just a regular guy. And I don't know anything, just like, and that resonated so much with people. I really like that. We got a montage as he's spending money on this campaign of the pallets of money dwindling. Like a quick, I really like that. That was good to see. Yes. and this is the quote, and I'll kick it back over, but about the mayoral campaign, the Montgomery Brewster quote, why else would someone spend $10 million for a $60,000 a year job unless he planned to steal it back with interest?
There you go.
And it's like, Yes, that's 100% like the most concise way to look at all this stuff. So I enjoyed that. And especially this was like very influential on me as a kid and kind of lined up with things my dad would say, because he was kind of like jaded on electoral stuff, which I am like on board with to a degree. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is yeah, man, they're a bunch of crooks.
Yeah, sort of like why would the mayor of New York have to visit a foreign country as like one of his duties in his office? That's so dumb. Again, nothing to do with current stuff. So I think we're to the Yankee game now.
Yes.
So, and this is the first thing I thought of was like, why wouldn't he blow more money by renting Yankee Stadium? Even though he's like leased the Hackensack Stadium, he's done renovations over last minute. He could have been like, hey, the Yankees were available, which means there's nothing going on at the stadium.
That's true.
He could have paid hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to rent Yankee Stadium. I feel like it's a big miss on Monty's part to not waste money doing that.
Well, I think he was so dedicated to the Hackensack Bulls that he needed to bring some glory. But that's the smart move. We don't get the gag with the train. Although he could have paid to renovate Yankee Stadium to have a train track through the middle of it.
That probably would have cost more than $30 million to convince them to do that. And the scene is great. There are several actors in this scene in the Yankee game that are kind of from elsewhere as well. And, and this is just one of my favorite things to do. But Dixon, the second Yankees hitter, who I think is the one that gets into it with John Candy gets into it with the first one about his wife, guy having an ugly wife or something like that. It's one of those. Yeah. I think it's Dixon. He makes fun of like his wife, right?
Yeah.
He goes on later in life to play Grady Fuson, the head scout for the A's in Moneyball. So the one you're like, fuck you, Billy. Like that guy is that batter, which is super funny to me. Baseball kind of connection. The other ones are the announcers.
Okay. I got one of the announcers.
Okay.
I was the other guy. I didn't know who it was. So who do we got?
I think the one you didn't know, because the only place I recognized him from was a sitcom no one our age should ever have watched. He played the character Rick on Grace Under Fire, which if you ever watched it in the late 90s, it was, what's her name? It's a female comedian with a man's first name. And I can't remember
Brett Butler.
Yes, thank you, yes. Brett Butler. Her show, Grace Under Fire. He played Rick, her love interest. But the other one's the one you thought of, I think.
No, so who's the other one?
The other one's Poppy from Seinfeld, the guy who owned the restaurant and wouldn't wash his hands when he went in and saw Jerry in the bathroom. So those are the two, or Poppy and then Rick from Grace Under Fire were the two I knew.
So I think Rick from Grace Under Fire, I know him as Bubba from the TV series In the Heat of the Night.
Okay.
Shout out Cindy Poitier, even though he was in the movie and not the
version,
TV series.
Alan Autry, I believe, is the actor's name.
Yes. So I always remembered that because that was one of those things that my cousin would tape, and me and my brother and my cousin would watch this show like over and over and
that's
over.
So
I'm like Bubba, and then I realized like that's not a big star,
right.
But
that's so funny.
That's great that they were all recognizable.
Anyway, so that's a fun little thing. Yeah.
So a pretty good baseball scene, I would say. Like we're not getting a ton of baseball, but we get like, a diving catch by the third baseman and just a little. They know that the strength is not showing a bunch of live baseball in this.
There's
movie.
an interesting thing that happens. So the third Yankees batter in the first inning gets up and is batting on the left-handed. He's batting left-handed. He's on the right side of the plate, so he's batting left-handed. But it's clear that whoever put together wardrobe for the day they were shooting did not know that actor is left-handed.
So they only had one helmet?
No, the helmet was correct. The glove. He's wearing a glove on his right hand, he's wearing a glove on his left hand, which a right-handed batter would do. So on him, it's the upper hand on the bat, not the bat near the end, not the hand near the end of the bat that has the glove on it, which would make no sense. You either wear both or none, or you only wear it on your bottom hand in your grip.
Okay.
And so for a left-handed batter, that would be his right, but it was the other way around. I was like, that's the kind of crap I noticed that nobody fucking cares about.
That's what we're here for. That is our purpose on this earth. Forget raising our kids, forget taking care of our families. It's that stuff,
that guy
Steve.
had the wrong
Never change.
glove.
So the Bulls are hanging in there, right? And Monty Brewster's claim that he can get anyone out for 3 innings is kind of holding up.
So far.
They're in the third inning. They're up 1-0. Everyone's watching it on TV for some reason.
Yeah, well, he's paying obviously to have it televised.
Right. Warren Cox goes into the furniture store to get this deposit back. So this is their plan to sabotage Monty Brewster, is that he goes in there and he has a $20,000 deposit that they had kind of assumed was an expense. They didn't track it as an asset, and he is going to not give it back to him till the very last.
Yes.
Right.
Slime.
When he goes to get the deposit at the furniture company, the guy that gives him the money, who works there, the dude with the mustache, is Kurt Russell's friend from Overboard.
That's who he was. I knew he was somebody. He's been in a
ton of stuff, but
that is what I thought of it was Overboard.
He was like all over the place there. So the game is going, and then, the Yankees end up getting to Monty. They even made a comment early in the game when he threw a pitch, and they were like, "Oh, is that your changeup, and then Spike was like, no, that's his fastball.
Right, yeah.
So they know they're really outclassed here. So the Yanks hit a grand slam, and they end up winning. You know, Brewster gets pulled, and he walks out of the game, and they end up winning 4-1.
Yeah, and it was around this time. So between that and then, of course, after the game, and this is basically the last of his money that he spent on all this, it made me think of another fantastic sports movie. I think we've even referenced it in earlier episodes, Basketball. When I thought in my head the line, paraphrased, it certainly does seem to be raining shit on Monty Brewster today. Like, because he just looks so sad. He was so sad.
Right. And he's down to his last $38,000,
right.
He says.
Yep.
And he's, I think he kind of plays it. I mean, Richard Pryor's not the greatest actor. He's an amazing comedian. Yes. He's not like the best actor, but I think there's something about this character that's like, maybe this is good acting.
Yeah.
The way that he's like, so kind of like, uncertain at all times, and like he can't, I don't know, like maybe he's doing a really good job of playing like how nervous this guy would be.
Yeah, there's so what you got to look at, right, when you're like judging acting, which is like kind of a silly thing to do. Obviously it's an artistic creative endeavor, so like judging it's a little funny, but especially someone who doesn't do it. But I feel like the thing I always look at is, does it look like this is something where this actor or actress has made choices, and those choices have led to this performance, or is this just them trying to get through this, and that's just the best they can muster, right? And that's sort of the thing. And I would say that nervousness and that uncertainty couldn't really not be choices, because Richard Pryor is a performer. Richard Pryor has been in other films. There's a script in front of him. It's not like he doesn't actually know what to say. Right. So all these times when he comes off as like just not sure how to move forward or stuttering over things in some ways, like those are choices that Richard Pryor was making, I'm confident in. Yeah. So I think this is absolutely an example of like, you know, again, it's still not fantastic acting. This is not an Oscar-winning performance, but he's a good actor, and you know, it was. And I think that these are clearly choices that he made in order to like bring this character to life. And I think to me that's like the baseline of like, is this good acting or not? Are we watching someone make choices and those choices leading to a performance, or are we watching somebody just saying lines? You know what I mean? And it didn't feel like he was just saying lines. He was making choices.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think he might have started at that point to kind of have some physical issues, which if you're playing a kind of like uncertain, like meekish character, actually really play to your advantage, you know? Yeah. So he's down to his last $38,000. He is kind of, I mean, he doesn't seem that excited because he's basically like torn down everything around him. Yeah. And at this point, it's looking like a bunch of people are going to vote for him for mayor instead of none of the above. Right. And what he's told is that if you get this job for mayor, that's a $60,000 a year job. That's considered an asset. No, it's fucking not. That's not an asset. It's a job. Right. You can quit the first day. That is a you don't get paid your salary when you get elected. No,
exactly. Good point.
So I did not like that, but I see where they're going with it. It can't end with him becoming mayor.
Yeah. He would have gained, because also we know, right, from his own assertion that no one would spend $10 million to get a $60,000 a year job unless they were going to get more. Yep. That being mayor of New York City has perks and privileges far beyond the salary that, again, while not assets from a tax standpoint or like a you know, a balance sheet standpoint,
your speaking fees are going up.
It's certainly the lawyers and the executor would probably look at that as having materially gained from the $30 million fake inheritance, which would be against the rules, right?
Just like if he had gotten like a doctorate, or I mean, you can't get that in 30 days, but if he had invested in some way that gave him like a leg up at the end. One thing that I was thinking of, because he's hitting the point where he's down to his last 30 grand and everyone's like very sad for him. They have this kind of election night / last night at the hotel party.
Right.
And everyone's really bummed. And he's like, come on, this is a party. Like, this is the last of the money. Let's party here. Yeah. And they're all, the people he has hired are even like taking up a collection because they see him as like, oh my God, this guy just didn't know what to do. And now he has nothing.
And he's paid them so
us
much
a
money.
ton, right?
Yeah, they couldn't possibly be like using it all just to live yet. Like they're holding savings. And so, you know, they're kind of like, oh, I could give a little back. That's probably fine. I will say, by the way, I recognize the wine bottles, the champagne bottles. That very nice. That is a Tête de Cuvée from Perrier Jouet. That is Belle Époque. That's a very nice bottle of wine. Those are like $200 to $400 today. So, you know, he easily could have spent several thousand just on the champagne at that party. But yeah, I've actually had that champagne. It's quite nice.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. And the party's sad and everyone tries to help him out. And he's like, no, I just spend it, you know, I can't be trusted with it. And he seems like he's really trying to tell Angela.
Right.
And he's like, I'm not who you think I am, but I'm not also, or he's like, I'm not who you thought I was, but I'm also not who you think I am right now.
Yeah, exactly right.
He's like, just wait till tomorrow. Just wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in this universe, since this is like the 6th version of this that's been made as a film to this point, the other versions exist? Because I would be like, well, I can't tell anyone, but we're going to have a screening of a movie in my theater, and it's Brewster Millions from 1932.
Right. Yeah, I have to assume that no. In the universe in which Brewster's Millions 1985 exists, the movie Brewster's Millions 1945 did not come out. But yeah, it's a good point. Probably could have found some other
find
way.
something similar, right?
Or like really, I love whenever you're given rules of a game and you follow them to the letter, but you break the spirit, where it's like, it said don't tell anyone. Well, I didn't, but I did like learn sign language to a mime, and then they told people, or something crazy like game of telephone. Well, I didn't tell anyone. I like made pictographs or something. You know what I mean? Like,
so he's done. He thinks he's done, and it shows Angela, the accountant, going through and like adding up the last bits of the money, and it gets down to zero. All of his stuff is rented, including the clothes that he had. So everyone's in the hotel. They're saying, you got to be out of the hotel. We're taking all these clothes back. Sir, that's yours too. He's in his Cubs jersey again. He goes into the room that Warren Cox's wife, I forget her name,
Madeline,
had finally, after making her like redo this design, and he finally looks around and he's like, oh, here we go. This is perfect. Finally a room I can die in. She's like, relieved. Like, I finally got it right. All right, boys, let's take this stuff out of here. And immediately all the stuff gets taken away.
Yeah, it's like it was all rented. It's funny to me because if you enter into some kind of lease agreement for that furniture, was it a day-long lease? Like, it seems like if you entered into it after the first of the 30 days, you're generally renting things for like a month,
right?
Or a multiple of months.
No, I requested a 24-day lease.
Right, exactly.
So he's going to the law office, and he thinks he's done. Like, my accounting's set. I have no money left. Like, I'm going to get this. And I get there, he gets in the elevator, and Warren gets in the elevator with him.
Yes.
And Warren said, oh, hey, Mr. Brewster, just in time. I forgot to give you this. Good news. You don't have no money.
Yeah. Isn't that
Here's
exciting?
the deposit from the furniture. And he hands him an envelope with $20,000. And we're like 4 minutes to midnight here.
Woof.
So now he has this problem. He has $20,000, and they're kind of, telling him, yeah, you lost.
Yeah.
You're screwed. And he's like, what can I do? What can I do? He ends up, telling Warren. Warren, I think, tells Angela as they're kind of looking through the window as Brewster's about to sign over, the document that says, okay, like that's it for me.
Yeah.
He says, okay, well, I can let you in on this secret. I've been, I'm going to make partner at the firm because I've helped facilitate his failure in this competition. Now the money's going to go to us. And she runs in and tries to stop it because she's grown to care for Monty at this point.
Yeah. Well, and because Warren has been...
He's pushing himself away and towards his ex.
She would have dumped him either way.
Yeah.
Like, if this all had not gone down this way, if Warren had not revealed to her this like little secret, it felt like that relationship was dying anyway.
Yeah.
They were both kind of at each other's throats and like whatever. So she really didn't have anything to lose. And then to find out that, Monty, again, who you said, like, she's at least seeing him as like a decent person, maybe a little confused, but now this is all starting to make sense. Now that Warren's told us, it's like, oh, no wonder he's acting like such a moron. Like, the guy that I think he could be might really be the guy he is.
Yeah.
And I better go do something about it. So yeah, she runs into the room, into the office there, and is like, stop, whatever. But they, it's like there's this great, maybe 90 seconds where nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
They're like, they can't think of anything to do right away, which I think is a fun little like stressful moment for the audience.
It wasn't an immediate save the day.
No, exactly.
And then, Warren and Brewster feels like, well, I'm screwed anyway. And this Warren guy's an asshole and calls him out because he knows that Warren's done it, even though they're like, well, even though they cheated, there's nothing we can do. Like, this was the rule. And Warren, this is where Warren says the racist thing to them, which I didn't pick up the first time I saw this as being like a racial comment.
Right.
But Angela, who's like probably half black, she's very light skinned, right? But definitely not like fully Caucasian. No. And Brewster, and he says, they say, you're a jerk, you're a cheater, whatever you are. He's like, oh, better than being a couple of rabbits.
Yeah.
Which is like such a bullshit thing to say because it's clearly a racist thing to say. But they could call him out and he'd be like, oh, no, I just mean because you're hopping around all the time. Like the kind of thing where people set themselves up with an out to say a dirty thing.
Some of the grossest, old school racism. Like I feel like old racism had two flavors. One was just completely overt. They would just use horrible slurs for people just openly because whatever. Or there was the really trying to be undercover racism where they would say things that are either like some weird acronym or like some kind of like, a word that, on its own is not a bad swear or anything, so therefore could be like played away, and that's sometimes the more nefarious and shitty of the racist, terms that get
like
used.
The plausible deniability racism. It's like, come on, man,
just if you're gonna do it full chest,
put the hood on, just get out there.
If you're gonna be a racist 10 toes down, so the rest of us can fucking see you and get the fuck out of the way. Go away. Like,
so Montgomery's like, all right, man, I'm knocking this guy out. Punches Warren out.
Gives him a good one.
Warren's like, you have nothing. I'm gonna take the nothing that you have. I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna sue you. And at the last minute, he says, "Oh, I'm going to need a lawyer. Angela, I'm going to hire you as my lawyer." So he pays her the $20,000.
Retainer,
they write a receipt as the clock's about to strike midnight, and boom, hey, that's it. We're done. And you guys, the law firm, you're in trouble for trying to fuck with this whole. You've breached your duty. Like, you guys are in real legal trouble. And now Montgomery Brewster has $300 million.
Yeah.
And now we get to start watching him spend. Oh, never mind. Nope, that's the exact end of the movie.
I do love the way Angela like yells, "You need a receipt! You need a receipt!" Like she's so adamant about it, and it's true. Like he gets the receipt, they just get a piece of paper and jot it down, and again, another one of these movies. We've seen several of these in this series where it's like, man, when it ends, it just ends. Like, there's no denouement, there's no post credits, anything. It's just like, nope, they walk out of that room
right to it,
and it's just roll credits. So that's it, and he is now a multi-millionaire.
Yeah, he's got $300 million, and probably in the timeline of this movie, he has remained mayor of New York to this day. But he's turned into like a really corrupt. Now he's worth $5 billion.
He literally is Eric Adams. Like,
exactly.
So one thing I wanted to mention, because this was a lot of fun, but I did not know the Brewster's Millions was a remake initially. I knew very little about the movie in general. But the version that came out in 1945, I don't know if you know this, but was banned in Memphis, Tennessee for having, and I quote, "too much social equality and racial mixture," unquote, which is making it an unusual case where a film was banned for not being racist enough.
That's
crazy.
Isn't
that crazy? Oh, man.
Especially because, I mean, I don't know the demographics in 1945, but like Memphis is like a very heavily African-American population.
Yeah, that's true.
So for like a minority of the population to decide something like that, where it's like, oh, we don't want these people to see this and get any ideas. Like, that's more fucked up than like, I don't want my white kids to see it.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. And wanted to point out, since I did the translation from if you were going to do this movie today and you wanted to keep the dollars like reasonable, this would do. So the 1945 version, the character Monty Brewster had to spend $1 million in 2 months.
Okay.
Right. And if he did, he would earn an inheritance of $6 million. So
that's
big difference in those 4 years,
multiples
from 45
here.
to 85. Yeah.
Yeah. But do you ever, I always end up seeing these random like normie like Facebook posts come through where it's like, this is a picture of the menu at the Palace Hotel in Chicago from 1922, and it's like a dozen oysters, 15 cents and all that.
Lobster Thermidor, $1.05.
Yeah. So to spend $1 million in 2 months, man, that's tough to do.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So what ideas present day we're trying to Brewster it up? Like, what are some of the best ways to spend money without violating the rules here?
So what I was thinking of partway through when I realized Brewster had mentioned starting a company, and I think it was when Spike comes in and he tells him, "I made some investments and you've got $10 million extra." It was that, or it was he invested in the iceberg. We didn't mention this, but he invented like moving an iceberg to like Sudan or somewhere, Middle East maybe, I don't remember exactly, but they were going to move an iceberg so that it could feed people fresh water. Crazy idea, but whatever. He invests in it, and then this huge like energy company buys the company that he invested in. So therefore, his stock is now in this huge energy company, and it's worth more and more money. What I was thinking of at the time is like, okay, he started a company, and he's making these investments that are paying off one way or another. If all of the things that were earned during his time with in this project were assets of the company. Okay, so he would still spend the $30 million, but anything that comes in would be like written to the company or owned by the company, and then he could just be fired.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that mean he walks away with no assets?
But somebody owns the stock in the company.
Yeah, but I'm saying, well, okay, but so it could be a company that he, okay.
Because then he's giving away the stock, you know what I'm saying?
Shoot. Yeah, I guess that's true. Because even if he got fired as like CEO or chairman or whatever, he would still have to, if he would have had to give up the ownership. So, okay. All right. So that doesn't work.
Although we did learn from Fletch, you can be the president of a company and have zero stock, like
Very
the
true.
Boyd Aviation guy.
To be fair, he was a bit of a Nepo hire there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this movie being made before bottle service and before like rentable private jets and stuff like that.
The first thing I thought when I was just talking to Heather, my wife, about it was like, why doesn't he just like lease a jet for 30 days?
Yeah.
And it's like, you kind of couldn't do that in 85, I don't think, or at least it wasn't. I don't know, but you could have easily spent many years. Like, I'm gonna rent a super yacht, like a 200-foot super yacht. I'm gonna rent a G6. I'm gonna spend every day.
Rent the Concorde.
I'm not gonna get on either one of them ever.
Right.
I'm just gonna rent them because I'm gonna spend my entire time in Vegas, bottle service and just paying for everybody's drinks at Stadium Swim. Like that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. He could just keep finding big crowds of people to take to lunch. But he did a good job. I think they did a nice job in this movie of kind of diversifying the ways that he needed to spend money and then throwing in this extra kind of plot line of the mayoral race when it seemed like an hour in, we're like, well, how are we going to keep going with this? Because the game with the Yankees is coming up. And it's like, oh, that's a great idea to add like an extra bit to the movie. Yeah. So that's Brewster's Millions. And what do we think, Steve?
So yeah, this was an interesting one. So yeah, it's not coming in with any nostalgia for it. I love John Candy, but and Richard Pryor's great, but it's not like I've never been like a massive like Richard Pryor fan. He's just kind of always been there and been part of a lot of comedy that I love. But Candy's fantastic, and I'll watch anything John Candy's ever done. This was okay. This to me, this was an okay movie. I got bored in the middle. I'll be honest, like definitely got slow in the middle, kind of like you said, before the mayoral race starts up. But after, he's kind of gotten into a groove of spending some money. It's kind of like, okay, now what? Yeah. And so then they do kick in but it felt like the baseball stuff and the political stuff was sort of, in some ways, kind of tacked on. It felt a little out of place. Like, I get the character's got to have some life before this happens, and that's what informs those pieces. But I thought it was fun. Nothing about it was like, I'm positive going to show my kids this movie. I think that they would really enjoy, especially my son who's 11. I think he'd really enjoy this movie. And there are definitely lots of like funny scenes, but I agree with you. You said earlier, like there wasn't like a lot of laugh out loud moments. Yeah. And I agree with that. Like there was a lot of, I chuckled a bunch.
You're like smiling.
Yeah.
It's
I smiled through a lot of it. I definitely like enjoyed it, but to me it was sort of like, I think okay is the best way I can describe it. And I think that I'm going to be giving this one a 2.5 out of 5. Okay. Kind of right in the middle. It's not terrible in any way, but it didn't really strike me. But it was a fun too. It was a fun enough way to spend just over an hour and a half. Definitely. And I think that looking at who's in it, this is definitely a whole is lesser than the sum of the parts kind of movie, right? But I do enjoy this for what it is, just for being like an easy, like a comfortable kind of lighthearted movie. Yeah. Nobody's overly mean. There's nothing overly scary. Very appropriate for kids, even as young as 7 years old, to if they would enjoy it. And then the Moranis thing, though, just really got to me this time. That really killed me this time. Yeah. But other than that, not a ton of laugh out loud. Not the best utilization of Pryor as a comedic actor. But if you were trying to take like the route that so many, Eddie Murphy, Ice Cube, like people who decide to go do kids movies after doing like more serious or comedic stuff, then maybe that's like an avenue that he had envisioned for himself. Because he didn't do a ton more after this, I believe. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think he started to decline a little bit health-wise. But I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. I think you're right on. I get an extra half a point just because I remember liking this so much as a kid. But it is fun. It's a New York movie that's not really too New Yorky. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, just kind of a good time and hard to dislike, I would say. I agree with that. I think that's the thing. It's sort of... It's cold pizza of movies where it's like, you're not going to run home and go, I can't wait for my cold pizza. But like, are you going to refuse it? No, of course not. Sure. It's still enjoyable, And so I feel like that's where I'm at as well. So so we are 5.5 out of 10 as a combined score on Brewster's Millions. Pretty close to IMDb. A little under. We're a little under IMDb, but we're way over that Rotten Tomato score. We are. So, and I don't think it deserved at all that sub 40% Rotten Tomatoes. That to me is crazy. It was not like a bad movie. Yeah, that seemed a little rough. That seemed rough. And maybe they were just curmudgeonly film reviewers
viewers who didn't like remakes and stuff like that, just like there are now.
That's
and not
possible.
that that's a wrong opinion to have, you know? So, so what do we have coming up next, Steve? We did Brewster's Millions, my pick. We got next week. What do we have coming up from you?
All right. So from me, we're going to go away from a remake and we're going to a movie that is an original from the mid 90s, but has a sequel coming up. And that's the reason that I've picked it for our next week. So yeah, a little over a week from today, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, Happy Gilmore 2 comes out. So before that happens, we're going to watch Happy Gilmore. Adam Sandler, Christopher McDonald, Julie Bowen, Carl Weathers. This is like, Bob Barker. This is a great movie. One, I think it was hard to be a guy our age in the 90s and not love Adam Sandler.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Water Boy. I mean, even Big Daddy, which was, maybe aimed at a slightly older audience, but this is good stuff. And, another sports movie. We're going to go from baseball to golf, and kind of hockey a little bit, right? And Happy Gilmore just a little bit. But yeah, super excited. It's one that I'm a big fan of. And I think this is, I'll be honest, I picked it because of the timing with the sequel coming out. We've talked a lot about not recognizing certain sequels and remakes as we've talked about movies, but I'm fingers crossed. I'm hopeful that Happy Gilmore 2 will at least be watchable. And so in preparation, we'll go and watch the original.
Excellent. I'm very excited about Happy Gilmore. We'll love to talk to you about that one, Steve.
Good stuff. All right. Well, this was Brewster's Millions, and this has been Two Dads, One Movie. And if you like what you hear, please send us an email at theshow@twodads1movie.com. That's the number 2, the number 1. You can go on Apple and give us a 5-star review. You can go on Spotify and give us a 5-star review. Follow the show. It's all good stuff. It helps us know that people out there are enjoying what they're hearing, and we certainly enjoy making it. So let us know. Like I said, this has been Brewster's Millions. I'm Steve.
And I'm Nick.
And, we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.